I heard my father say. She'll never own anything worth talking about. Trust me. I was standing in the hallway of my aunt's house during Thanksgiving dinner. Frozen. My hand was still on my phone from the work email I just read. What he didn't know was that I'd just become his boss. My name's Rebecca. I'm 26 years old. I'm a software engineer, turned entrepreneur, and I earned 6 figures from my equity in the B2B tech startup I co-founded 2 years ago. I live in a downtown loft. I bought outright with my own savings. No help from anyone. No loans from family. Just me. My work. And the belief that I could build something real. From the outside. My family looks like they have it all together. Upper middle class suburban home. Country club membership. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family until the moment you weren't? Tell me where you're listening from and what this reminds you of. I slipped my phone into my clutch and forced my face into something that looked neutral. The country club lights were gold and soft. But everything inside me had gone silent. The room was full of polite laughter. Polished silver. And the same hollow compliments I'd heard my entire life. My father's voice carried just enough to make people turn their heads. He was in his element, buttoned-down confidence. The hero of every story he told. My mother smiled. Her fixed smile. Nodding in rhythm with his sentences. My brother Ryan talked numbers with some neighbor. They both laughed, like success was a language, only they spoke. I stood by the bar. Thumb brushing the small pendant on my keychain. A tiny porcelain charm shaped like a teacup. It had belonged to my grandmother. She used to tell me, "Don't chase rooms that never invite you to sit." My phone buzzed. One message from Ava Integration finalized. Another from Jordan. Welcome aboard. Cole Sr. The words barely registered before my stomach dropped. I opened the staff integration file, out of habit. Just scanning names. And there it was. Clear as glass, Gregory Cole. Regional Sales Director. Reporting to Chief Operating Officer. Jordan Reyes. My father. The same man holding court 3 tables away. Telling a story about real jobs and kids these days. The man who had just become an employee at my company. For a second, I almost laughed. The symmetry was too clean. Too perfect. But instead I felt the air go thin. I set my phone face down on the tablecloth, next to an untouched glass of wine, and listened to him talk about discipline and work ethic. Every word sounded like an old recording I'd heard too many times. Someone asked about me. "She's still doing that tech thing." "Right," he said. "Startups burn fast. She'll land eventually." That was when I stopped hearing the conversation and started hearing my own pulse. I looked around the table at the bright plates. The neat smiles. The laughter that always skimmed across the surface, but never touched anything real. I thought of every time I'd waited for him to notice what I built. Every time I'd told myself that one more milestone would finally be enough. No. Not tonight. I picked up my phone, opened the acquisition email again, and read the numbers like a quiet spell. Series A, 24 million. Current valuation, 90 million. Acquisition, 18 million cash. 6 million earnout. Proof that I didn't need a chair at this table to own the building. It sat in. I slipped the teacup charm back into my clutch and smiled. Small and sharp. Tonight wouldn't be about earning approval. It would be about protecting peace. Dinner always looked the same in my family linen napkins. Polished silverware. And a conversation that ran like a corporate meeting. Titles instead of emotions. Achievements instead of warmth. My father led. Of course. My mother filled in the small silences with nervous laughter. The kind you learn from years of smoothing over tension. Ryan, my older brother, sat angled toward him, like a mirror image, every gesture rehearsed. Every opinion safe. They talked about markets, real estate, and how connections matter more than luck. I sat 3 seats away. Invisible, but conveniently close enough to refill the wine glasses. When I was 12, I thought invisibility was a punishment. Now, I understood it was just another system they managed. Someone has to be the listener for people who only talk about themselves. My father turned to Ryan. "You closed that deal with the hedge fund yet?" "Almost," my brother said. His voice, easy. "They're impressed with my portfolio." "Of course they are," Dad said, laughing like he'd written the outcome himself. "That's how it's done. Son. Consistency. Not chasing fantasies. That word again, fantasies. He didn't even glance at me when he said it. He didn't have to. Some families run like companies. One child gets the title. The other takes the blame. I didn't apply for the role. I just kept doing the work. I remembered being 16. Standing at a science fair, under fluorescent lights, while other kids' parents crowded around their projects. My booth was empty. I'd built a simple algorithm that predicted rainfall, using local weather data. It worked perfectly. My dad had a golf game that day. My mom said she didn't want to drive in the rain. Years later, when Ava and I launched our first prototype in a borrowed garage, I sent the invite to everyone in the family group chat. Only my grandmother replied. And she had already passed by then. That kind of silence burns slow. It hardens into something sharp. Now, sitting at that table, I watched my brother's wine glass tilt toward my father's. Toast after toast to his promotions. His bonuses. His new car. Fiona. My mother finally said. Her tone rehearsed. Light. How's your little company going? Little company. I smiled. Careful not to let my teeth show. Growing faster than expected. That's nice, she said quickly. Already turning to Ryan. Your cousin is interviewing at Deloitte. Do you know anyone there? Their voices blurred again. My phone. Silent beside my plate. Held the truth they refused to see. $90 million in valuation. A signed acquisition. An email that made my father an employee under my company's org chart. But I didn't need to say it. I'd learned long ago that people only hear what confirms the stories they've already written. The pendant against my palm felt warm. Almost alive. My grandmother used to sip tea and whisper. Patience. Darling. Let time expose the truth. She never said how long it would take. I looked around the table one last time, the laughter. The forks clinking. On the empty space where care should have been, and I knew. I wasn't going to explain myself anymore. I wasn't going to fight for a seat here. I would build my own table. And when the time came, I'd decide who got an invitation. The realization didn't sting. It felt clean. I took a slow breath and let the noise fade into a dull hum. I will not explain. I will not defend. I will document. That night, the city felt like glass quiet. Cold. And see-through. I sat in my office long after everyone else had gone home. The hum of the servers was the only sound. It was steady. Honest. Machines don't play favorites. I opened my laptop and created a folder. One word in the title, containment. Inside it, I dropped the email threads from the acquisition. The integration reports. The finalized org chart with one name that didn't belong, Gregory Cole. I stared at it for a while. Gregory Cole. VP of Sales. My father. Now. Technically, an employee under my company's hierarchy? The irony was almost poetic. If you liked your poetry cold and surgical, I took out a stack of yellow sticky notes and wrote my own ground rules. No public shaming. HR, first. Counsel looped. Evidence only. Each one felt like a boundary I should have drawn years ago. My phone lit up with a message from Ava integration paperwork. Looks solid. Celebrate tomorrow. Then from Jordan. Need to review old correspondence from the acquired team, potential IP overlap. I typed back. Send me everything. When the files arrived, I clicked through folders like I was tracing a trail of fingerprints. Email subject lines flashed by, heads up, redaughters startup. Informal advisory. Pricing framework. Docx. Each one colder than the last. When I opened that final attachment, my stomach dropped. My father had forwarded an internal pricing document from his company to a competitor then. In the same email thread. Offered himself as an advisor to my startup. Like I was some side project he could name drop to boost his own credibility. It wasn't just personal. It was unethical. I printed every page. Dated and labeled each one. Slid them into the folder. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. Revenge isn't loud. It's organized. I called Robert Hale. My old mentor. The man who'd helped me land my first internship. He sounded tired. Surprised to hear from me. Fiona, he said. I've been meaning to reach out. Your dad called me a while ago. Asked if I could talk some sense into you. Said you were getting ahead of yourself. I almost laughed. Did you? No, he said quietly. I told him you were fine. More than fine. I thanked him, hung up, and added his name to my notes. Pattern confirmed. Isolate. Discredit. Co-opt. By midnight, my desk was covered in paper tabs, and the containment folder was thicker than my patience had ever been. The next morning, I called our legal counsel, a calm woman named Maria. She didn't flinch when I explained. She just said, "You're dealing with a conflict of interest and a breach of duty. You can move for termination. But given the family connection, I recommend an option that keeps it clean." "What kind of option?" I asked. "A fork," she said. "A choice. He can resign voluntarily and receive 6 months severance with a neutral reference. If he signs within 5 business days, or you initiate a formal review and it becomes public record within the company." I nodded. "We'll go with the fork." Ava and Jordan joined the call. No one said the word father. We just said employee. When we ended, I leaned back in my chair and let the hum of the servers fill the room again. I picked up my grandmother's pendant and turned it in my fingers until the chain caught the light. This wasn't revenge. It was procedure. And this time, the rules would protect me, not him. In the days that followed, the world stayed eerily calm. No explosions. No confrontations. Just the quiet pressure of people trying to pretend nothing was happening. My mother texted first. "Brunch this weekend. Just us girls. We can smooth things out." Smooth what out? I typed the words. Deleted them. Then wrote, "I'm busy." Ryan sent a message later that night. "Dad's been stressed. Maybe just avoid drama for now." Drama. That was their word for accountability. I put my phone face down and let the notifications blink themselves to sleep. For the first time in months, I slept straight through the night. No replay. No what-ifs. Just silence. The next morning, sunlight hit my desk just right. The teacup pendant caught it, scattering a thin ring of gold across the folder labeled Containment. It looked like a small blessing. I opened my calendar and set a new meeting work update. G. Cole. Location: the Atrium Lounge. 4 Seasons. Downtown. Neutral ground. By the time Thursday came, my nerves weren't shaky. They were sharp. Focused. I arrived early, ordered sparkling water, and placed the folder on the table. Everything parallel. Deliberate. When my father walked in 10 minutes late, he did the same thing he'd always done, charmed the host. Shook hands with the bartender. Took up too much space before he even sat down. "Fiona," he said. Voice smooth. "You look tired. Working too hard." I smiled. "Just working right." He laughed. Like I'd told a joke. He didn't understand. "So what's this about? You said work update." "Yes," I said. "Steady. Work." He gestured for the waiter. "Ordered a scotch." "Nate." I waited until it arrived. He liked people to feel the weight of his pauses. I didn't give him one. I wanted to meet in person before this moves forward. I said, "Out of respect." He leaned back. That small smirk he used to wear whenever he thought he had the upper hand. "Moves forward. Sounds serious." "It is," I said. "Your firm, the one you worked for, was acquired last month." He frowned. "Yeah. We heard. Some automation outfit out of San Francisco. Wild valuation. I'll give them that." I looked at him and didn't blink. "That's my company." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Shock. Disbelief, then pride. Maybe, like he'd taught me this somehow. "Well," he said, clearing his throat. "Congratulations. Guess I should have asked for stock. This isn't a social call. Dad." He froze at the word dad, like hearing it there, in a place where everyone else called him Mr. Cole. Threw him off balance. I tapped the folder with one finger. We found emails forwarded, internal documents. Unauthorized sharing. Conflict of interest breaches. You also listed yourself publicly as an advisor to my company. Without consent. He started to speak, but I didn't let him. "You'll get a formal letter tomorrow. It outlines two options: resign voluntarily within 5 business days and receive 6-month severance with a neutral reference, or proceed to a full HR review. He stared at me, the smirk gone. This is insane. You can't talk to me like that. I met his eyes. I can. And I am. He leaned forward, voice tight. I'm your father. I took a breath, felt the pendant warm against my palm. Exactly. And I spent 27 years trying to earn your approval. I'm done with that now. I'm protecting my peace and my people. For the first time, he didn't have a comeback. Just the sound of his scotch glass hitting the table a little too hard. I stood, pushed the folder toward him. You have until Friday. Then I walked out. Outside. The air felt cleaner, lighter. I didn't look back. That night, Jordan forwarded me an email. I resign effective immediately. Please process my severance. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just the same tone he'd used his whole life, distant. Transactional. I texted Jordan, process it. Close the file. A few hours later, my phone rang again. My mother. Her voice tight. What did you do? Your father is devastated. You need to fix this. I leaned against the counter. Eyes closed. I didn't do anything to him. Mom. He did this to himself. He's your father. I know. And that's exactly why it hurts. But I'm not fixing it. Silence. Then a shaky breath. I don't know what to say to you right now. Then don't say anything, I said softly, and hung up. Afterward, I typed one last message and sent it only to her. I love you. But if you keep defending him, I'm going to need distance. I hope you understand. She didn't reply, but I slept again that night, and the silence for once felt like peace. Weeks passed, and for a while, I thought it was over. The company was steady. The noise had died down. My life was quiet in the way I'd always wanted it to be. Then, one morning, HR pinged me. Subject line, contractor inquiry, voice match alert. I opened it and read twice. Someone named G. Palmer had applied for a temporary sales trainer position. Their resume was vague, but the system flagged the voice from a required onboarding video. It matched a recording from an old Crestline webinar. My father's voice. He'd tried to re-enter under an alias. For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen. Then I felt something strange. Neither anger nor surprise. Just a small, hollow kind of pity. I forwarded it to Jordan. Process through standard policy. Do not rehire. Do not engage. No drama. No confrontation. Just procedure. Restraint is its own kind of proof. After that, life kept moving forward. A year slipped by quietly. The ticker on our office wall flashed numbers I never imagined seeing. $90 million in valuation. 2 new verticals launched. 3 early employees promoted to directors. Ava started a small ritual. Every time we closed a major renewal, she'd ring a tiny silver bell she found at a thrift shop. The sound was light, sharp, pure. It meant we'd built something that worked. That Thanksgiving, I didn't go to the country club. I brought a pie to Ava's loft instead. The table was crowded, but easy people who showed up. Not people who performed. We laughed about bugs in production. Not whose kid had the better resume. Someone asked about the company. But this time, they waited for the answer. Later, when everyone was talking and music played low, I stepped onto the balcony. The city was glowing. My phone buzzed on the counter, but I didn't reach for it. I left it face down. The pendant hung warm against my skin. I turned it over in my hand, thinking about my grandmother, about the girl who used to code alone in a dark bedroom, waiting for someone to say they were proud. I whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for believing I could build my own table." When I got home, I opened the old containment folder one last time. The evidence. The contracts. On the letter, everything that had once kept me up at night. I slipped a new sticky note inside. One sentence in neat handwriting. You don't report to me, you report to my standards. And just like that, the story closed quietly. No fireworks. No speeches. Just peace. If you've ever had to cut an invisible contract, leave one sentence you wish someone had said to you. If you want my evidence checklist, the one that kept me honest, comment the word checklist. And tell me this in that hotel lounge. Would you have offered the severance window? Or gone straight to review? Whatever you'd choose. Choose peace. Because revenge can be paperwork and freedom